Mr. Steven Thompson is our spotlight, our member spotlight. There you go, slides up there. And we will be hearing a little bit from Steven in just a little while. We've got a few bits and pieces to run through first. We've got a few normal bits and pieces that we do here on a Saturday morning, because we were asking everybody about their big wins from 2021. What would you suggest is your biggest win? Before we get down to you telling us a little bit about yourself, what would you suggest is your biggest win from 2021?
Oh, my biggest win would be discovering myself, I'd say. My biggest win of 2021.
I like the sound of it. Explain.
Just discovering me and what I'm all about and what I want. I think you just coast. I call it coasting, but I think in lots of things in life, you just coast through and just make do and do what you want, and and life just passes you by. And then I sort of had this moment of, this is who I am and this is what I'm about. And that for me was my biggest win, because then that meant I could work on that. So yeah, that was my biggest win.
Excellent stuff. Good. So tell us then, the reason we're here, obviously, ToolBox Spotlight. So Spotlight on a ToolBox member. You've been around the ToolBox for a little while now. So tell the members a little bit about who you are, what you do. I've already mentioned the fact that you're not an electrician, you are a heating engineer. And just for those who are unaware, although it is my electrician's toolbox, and we particularly work with local domestic electricians, everything that you learn inside the toolbox, and I'm sure you'll be able to attest to this, but everything that you learn inside the toolbox will work the same for you if your customer base is the same. So in other words, if you're looking to work with homeowners directly, letting agents, managing agents, anybody who's got manages a portfolio of property, then the strategies and techniques that we use will work for you, whether you are electrician, plumber, heating engineer, locksmith, gardener, mobile hairdresser, mobile mechanic, anything like that. So within the toolbox, we have a number of heating engineers like yourself. We've got a few, we won't swear, but a few plumbers as well. We've got a gardener, we've got an arborer, we've got a couple of handymen as well. So yeah, so you fit in the bracket that you're not an electrician. So take it from there. Tell us a little bit about who Steve is.
Well, I'm Steve Thompson. I'm from York, and a heating engineer. Yeah, all recoiling horror. But I mean, I'm what you call it. Everybody calls me Mr. Positive. Always happy, always smiling. Always just getting on with stuff. Life's too short. And that's what I'm all about. That's me. I'm just happy and Steve. But do you want me to go back to how I became a heating engineer?
Yeah.
So I'm a family man through and through. My family and me, everything. That's why I do it. It's what I'm all about. I've got an autistic son, and it sort of all began because of that. So I was a heating engineer for a local company, who I was going to. They had me as a manager doing site visits and meetings and all that kind of stuff, and it worked me. I just wanted to be on the tools. At that time, we was going through a process of diagnosis for my son, which meant meeting after meeting with all these different officials, and I was becoming unreliable. And I'm not that person. I need to be, if I'm doing something, I need to be, you know what I mean? I do it and I've got to commit. And it was getting too much for me, and I just felt pressure. So that was one of the reasons I decided to bite the bullet. But the other reason was they wouldn't let me just be on the tools. So I just wanted to be on the tools. And every time I went back to my boss to say, look, I'm sick of these site meetings. It's not what I'm about. I've trained to be this heating engineer. I want to do that. And it'd say, yeah, that's fine. And then I go to office and say, oh, you've got a site meeting next week. And it'd be like, oh, for God's sake, So I give him an ultimatum. I said, look, if I do one more site meeting, I'm gone. I felt like, to be honest with you, I felt like I owed him something because he kept me on through recession as an apprentice. So I felt like I was in their debt, if you get me. So that was that. I then had my youngest, which is Tilly. She's eight now, and she was born on the 21st of December. I went into the office on it's like the 3rd of Jan after Christmas. Walked into office and he said, Steve, you've got one more site meeting. And I just chucked my keys on desk and said, I'm done. I've had enough. Can't cope. So I got home and said, but my wife didn't have a clue. She didn't know I was going to do that, you know. So I walked through the door and said, I've quit my job. I've set up my own business. Aircon Plumbing and Heating was born that day. You know, she went absolutely nuts.
What was the date?
It was the 3rd of January, 2000 and, well, what will it have been? I can't remember my daughter's date of birth. How bad's that? No, 2013. 13. Yeah, so that was that. I went in, my wife went absolutely nuts. Like, what we're going to do? Bear in mind, we had 80 quid in the bank. So we weren't very well off at all. We had £80. We had a newborn baby. She's not working because we've got an autistic son. And, so it was like, what have you done? You're absolutely mental. What you know, and me being me, I'm like, look, it'll be right. Be fine. We'll work through it. We'll get there, you know. And we don't argue, me and my wife. We don't. Very rare we even bicker. But that was one of the moments where she lost her shit, shall we say? So
you sound surprised.
I know, yeah. So that was that, and then I had a van that I'd bought off my brother for 200 quid. It was just a little Peugeot, whatever, I don't know. Falling to bits. Bought some magnets off online. I'd done some sign writing. I don't know. Looking back, it was absolutely shocking, but they served a purpose, and they did what they did. And with that last 80 quid, I didn't bank. I went to my local cash and carry and bought, you know, a big, massive books of stamps you can buy. I bought one of them. So or a couple of them, and I'd spent our last 80 quid literally down to zero on stamps. And then she really did lose it, because she was like, well, not only have you quit your job, you've been and spent the last penny we have on stamps. So I'd wrote a letter to on my computer to every top 100 B&Bs and builders in York, just explaining that I'd recently just set up, left my job, looking for extra work, and I'm gas safe. That was pretty much it. And the rest is history.
So go on, tell us, because everybody will be curious. You started 2013 penniless.
Yeah.
Starting a business with a spouse who was less than supportive at the time.
Yeah.
Understandable. And you formulated a letter, sent out a letter with your 80 quid's worth of stamps. You sent out these letters to various people. What happened?
Well, I got one, as you know, well, I'm from York, so York is just full of B&Bs and hotels. It's very tourist, you know. So one B&B in York got in touch with me, and basically the day after it was pretty much the letter must have landed on the doorstep, and she rang me. She was doing 9 bathrooms back to back. So she rang me, said, do you want to quote these bathrooms, and how soon can you start? So I'm like, oh, I don't know, I'm a bit busy, you know, but you know, like you do. But following Monday, I started basically and just did 9 bathrooms, one after another. So obviously that just kept the income coming in. And as I was doing them 9 bathrooms, the work was just generating from all the other letters I'd sent out. You know, builders were getting in touch, other B&Bs, I was getting small works. So yeah, it really just took off at that point.
Excellent. I mean, it goes to show, isn't it, that what's the terminology I'm looking for here? It's like speed to market, isn't it? It's you decided you were doing it, and you just went for it. Job done.
Well, there was no other option, was there? When you've got 3 kids at home, you've got no money and no other way of getting money. And I've always been a bit like that, I suppose. I mean, I wanted to be. I worked like I left school and became a heating engineer. I had young kids. My wife was pregnant at 15 years old, so we had really young kids, you know. And I went out to work in factories, and just doing all crap jobs. I got my dad to buy me a ladder one Christmas so I could go out window cleaning. And that didn't work because I was just crap at it. It just took 3 hours to clean one set of windows, but I tried, you know. And when I was training to be a heating engineer, and I had to leave my job to do it because I had to go to college 5 days a week. So, and I was an adult. I was in my early 20s with kids. So what do you do then? You know, you're like, where do you get your money from? Well, I went to college, and then on a night I did pizza delivering every night. So I was earning 50 quid cash every night, 7 nights a week, and I was earning more money than I was earning when I was at work full time. You know.
Yeah.
So there's ways and means of doing anything. You know, if you need extra cash, it's there. It's just how you go and grab it.
Yeah, and I think that the difference is with the, as you said, with the letters that you sent out, there's a number of people who would sit back and wait to perfect something. They would wait to make it absolutely spot on before they do anything. Whether it was a website, whether it was a letter, whether it was an advert, no matter what it was, they would be perfecting and refining and streamlining. And in all the time that they're doing that, they're running out of more money and they're getting lower down. And then it gets to a point where it can't do anything, or, you know, they've left it too late. So I love the fact that you just decided to do it. You got your shit together, got the stamps, posted the letters, and that was it. And I'm almost betting that if you look back at that letter now, that same letter,
I'd love to see it.
Yeah, you would probably say cringeworthy. Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't got a copy of it, but I would love to see it. But yeah, I mean, like you say, I mean, that's been proven time and time again. Is what you've just said there. I'm the sort of guy that just does stuff. Do you know what I mean? I'm not scared about putting something out there. I'm not scared about trying, because I think, how can you perfect something if you don't know how it's working?
Yeah, there's an expression that Jessen, one of my friends, Jessen, talks about, and that's I probably won't even pronounce this word correctly now, but proliferation beats perfection every time. Just get it done. Just get it out there. Yeah. And then you can always fine tune things. You can always tidy things up. Anyway, take us on then. What happened from there?
So I started, I was working for myself. I got my gas. Well, I had already had my gas, but I had to go get registered and all that stuff. And it was everything was going great. But then it became very mundane and what I class as coasting. And I said that word early on in this live, like the phone would ring. I'd, hey, Mrs. Whatever, yeah, I'll come and fix your leak. I'd turn up, I'd do the job, I'd leave. I wouldn't even write the details down, you know. It was all, I'd write them in a diary, but that was as far as it went. And that just went on for 6 years. You know, I just coasted. You know, if I got a boiler to do, great. If I was unblocking a toilet, great. Didn't really matter. Not really bothered. You know, didn't have really much. I loved the job, but it was just. I don't know. I don't know what it was. I just sort of lost me. You know, I was just coasting.
Yeah. I think again, though, you're not alone in that. I think a lot of, and by the way, you know, guys, you're sitting out there listening at the moment. There's something like 20 of you out there at the moment listening. If you've experienced any of this and you want to comment or jump in with a question or a statement or a comment, please feel free to do so. But I'm going to ask you to do so now. Can any of you say that you resonate with what Steve is saying now? In terms of, you get to a point in the business where, and I'm going to use the word, you turn it into a job, because you're not building a business, you're not putting any strategies in place, you're not managing or looking after customers. All you're literally doing is getting up in the morning, going out. If there's some work in the diary, you're going out, you're doing it, you're coming back, collecting the money, or if you're collecting the money, even some people don't even do that, collecting the money, and then you're just waiting for the next job to come in, and just, it's just a tick over tick over tick, and you've basically turned your business into a job, and you're not creating a business out of it. Is that how you would describe it?
Definitely, yeah. So not only that, I weren't doing things properly. So my downfall is money management. It's no secret, you know, I'm a nightmare with money. I'm learning about it and growing, and sort of I'm going to sort that. But it's at that point, I was just money in one hand, out of other, off it went, you know, and nothing was. It was not even recorded. I'm only being honest. It was just, I got it, I spent it, job done. You know, what about your tax return? You know, what about? I don't know. I was the guy that was sat with all these receipts on his carpet on January, whatever, thinking crap, and I had that worry, that sinking heart feeling. Oh my God, I'm going to jail. You know, every year, and then January had come, you know, February had come, and I'd be back to square one doing the same thing. You know, I think, God, I don't know. Looking back, absolutely crazy.
Yeah, and again, I would say again, you're not alone. You know, there's so many people in business, inverted commas, that behave like that do that kind of thing. So what changed?
You go to merchants, and then you sort of, how are you doing? How are you doing? And everybody always says, yeah, I'm busy. Yeah, I'm doing really well. Yeah, I'm doing this, and nobody actually admits what the flaws are, or what. I mean, I'm honest, now. And I'm genuinely honest in every, you know, like I try and be as honest as I can, because we're all going through these same struggles, and we're all going through these times. And I remember chatting to another heating engineer, and I said to him, how are you doing, mate? He said, yeah, I'm really busy. And I said, well, if you ever need any work, let me know, because my phone is constantly ringing. I can't handle the workload. I need to pass them on. And he said, oh, no, I'm all right. I'm absolutely crazy busy. And then the next phone call I had was with his best friend. And he said, oh, so-and-so's really struggling. He can't get no work in. And I thought, wow, you know, like he had an opportunity there, but his pride it was up here, and he didn't want to admit to me that he weren't as busy as he thought. And I thought, God, why would you do that? But that, you know, that's just a mentality.
And again, I mean, the first person you need to be honest with is yourself, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know,
because that.
Yeah, and you are right. You see all of these guys down the wholesale. I'm not saying everybody's like it, but you come across these people, and we've probably all done it at some point during our careers anyway, where you're down the wholesalers chatting, somebody asks, how are things going? And of course, everything's fantastic, everything's brilliant, everything's wonderful. Yeah. It's never, oh shit, I'm struggling. Yeah.
Yeah, no. You just don't do it. Yeah, it's like a blokey thing, isn't it? And I don't know. It's like everybody loves steak, having a steak in a restaurant. This is what gets me. I can't stand steak, by the way, but it's like a blokey thing, isn't it? Oh, I'll have a steak, because it's a man thing, you know. But yeah, that's that. You asked me a question prior, and I
was just going to say. So you were at that point where you were coasting. What changed? Yeah. What changed?
Well, I started working for a guy that I met a guy who I ended up being best man at his wedding, and he's my best mate. He's a really, really good lad. Do out for anybody. Really nice. And he sort of reminded me a bit of me. You know, the first meeting of, I can go in really deep with this, but I won't bore you with the ins and outs. But yeah, he wanted to be a plumber. He was a tiler, and what I'm all about is helping people. I'm a people person. I love nothing more than to help people. And he was a tiler. I was doing his plumbing, and he wanted to become a plumber. So we come up with this arrangement that he would get the bathrooms. I would quote to do the work. He would help me do the bathroom. He would still pay me the money that so I had two hands on a job getting the same money. Do you know what I mean? So if obviously it was taking me half the amount of time and I was making good money. Yeah. But what happened then was he was getting 2-3 bathrooms a week in the end. You know, this was over a period of a couple of years, but he was getting 2-3 bathrooms a week, and I was jumping on that with him, which then I didn't need to advertise. I didn't need to market my business. I didn't need to do, you know, and I was making I'm talking really, really good money. You know, it was hard for me to say no because of that fact. And he got his qualification and all was good, you know, and we kept going, you know, because we was onto a good thing, or I thought we was onto a good thing. And then my wife, she sometimes they're great at knocking you down a peg or two out there, and she's like, well, what about your business? What's happening to where's your brand? What are you going to do? You know, like what happens when something happens to him, or he doesn't need your help anymore. And it was a bit like a realization, like, yeah, you know. And then
you suddenly woke up working for somebody else.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I was working, you imagine, so I was coasting, I was working for me, and then I went off working for him, you know, and I'd really I didn't have my own business, did I? It was a job for somebody else.
Yeah.
So it was, it was a bit like, how do I break that relationship and not a friendship as well, you know, because I didn't want to break that thing that we've built. Because I mean, this guy is still now he's my best mate. He's gone through and got his gas, and he's really, really good lad. You know, he's not didn't do anything. Obviously, he was just helping his business because he would. You know. So then I was like, well, I need to sort my shit. I need to sort this. You know, I can't continue. And coronavirus hit. So this is where coronavirus hit in the March, and we was in lockdown. And I admittedly then had technophobia. I couldn't do nothing on a computer. I would barely even switch them on. Everything was pen and paper. Used to scare me the thought of going on a computer. You know, I didn't like it. And I was just literally browsing Facebook. And I thought, how can I generate work through, you know, I could see that this is the way it was going. You know, everybody's going to be using internet and Facebook, and you know, that's the way business is going to be done in future. But I had no way of getting into that, you know. And I saw your advert it was one that you put on at the beginning of this live, the what's it called, Facebook challenge.
Yeah.
And I thought, I've got now to lose. It's free. Let's do it, you know. So I did. I just committed to that, and yeah, that was the sort of moment where everything changed. Just my mindset, everything changed about the business, about me, about what you know, my values, even. Just from that moment, it was like something just clicked, you know. I resonated with you for a start, you know. I just knew, because you're an electrician, you know, you teach electricians. Why would I pick? Because there's people out there doing this as heating engineers.
Yeah.
You know, why would I pick an electricians group? Why? You know, I can't even answer that question. So yeah, that was that. So I did the digital leaflet, put that out there, and it was different. It was something I signed up to the toolbox and started implementing, and stuff started changing. And I mean, I'm not scared of video whatsoever. When you was talking about video very early on, and I'm thinking, even when we was doing the digital leaflet, you was talking about it, and I've got no hesitation of jumping on a camera whatsoever, which is great. And I understand that guys, well, I know for a fact that guys really, really struggle with that. But I don't have no, it just don't, you know, just don't enter my brain. I'm not bothered. I'll just jump straight on a camera and speak, you know. So I had that to my advantage. So I did your digital leaflet with a video alongside it, me in the corner. Hi, I'm Steve at A.K Plumbing and Heating. You know, and it just went up. I think it's had something like 250,000 views now. So it did nothing in terms of, I won't say a direct correlation between that and me getting work. So it didn't, a direct messenger didn't come through Facebook, but it certainly positioned me as an expert. Yeah. Just through that, because I'd see people in, like, I don't know, I'd go to a job and they say, "Oh, you're that guy off that advert, aren't you?" It keeps popping up on my Facebook, and I say, "Oh yeah, I am," you know. And even still, that's still running now.
Excellent stuff. So apart from the video, what was the biggest thing you took away from that week? Because you said you were like technophobic at the time, yeah. So from that week, from doing the challenge,
probably the biggest thing that I could take away from that week, thinking back, is probably that I can do it. Just personally, because of the technophobia thing, I'd never pick a computer up because I didn't believe I could do it. You know, I thought it's going to be too much learning this and too much involved in it, and I didn't want, you know, I just couldn't be bothered. I just thought I'll never be able to do it. So the biggest learning from that was that I can do these things, and it was the way that you did it as well. So it was the bite-sized chunks, you know. So you're only doing. It used to annoy me. Computers still do, you know, like you're trying to do something, it does something different, and it's so annoying. But because it was in such bite-sized chunk, now it seemed to go wrong. Everything just worked as it should, so it was great. Yeah.
Excellent. Cool. So is there anything else you want to add and tell the guys before we go across to these this list of questions that we have?
Well, once I joined Toolbox, I went on it for a few months, did my went into the main site. Just can I add, just while I'm on live and everybody's out there listening, if you haven't got the Kajabi app, because I know how much of a drain it is to sometimes get your computer out, log on to the learning, you sat in front of your computer. If you get the Kajabi app, it's on your phone, you click Kajabi app, and all James's teachings are just there. So you can watch it on your mobile, on the move. I do it while I'm sat fitting a new boiler. I'll just have him talking in background. And you can, and it's just so easy. So yeah, get the Kajabi app. If you haven't done it.
Dwayne and his missus used to take me to bed, but
yeah. Well, it's just easy, isn't it? It's easy listening. I have it so in the van, and it just automatically comes through Bluetooth on audiobooks. That's how I learn. So I just listen to audiobooks all the time. And then I joined James's mastermind group, which helped massively, because that meant that I had 5 other guys telling me the good, the bad, and the ugly, so sort of truthful, honest guys giving you their opinion on what you want to do in your business and helping you move forward with that and ideas. So that for me was game changing as well. I'm still in that group. It's so I've implemented a lot, and to be honest with you, a lot of I've learned a lot of lessons. I was going to say I've had a lot of failures, but I've learned a lot of lessons throughout that, because I'm one of these, like James said early on. I don't know sometimes if it's a negative really, but I just go, I see something and I go, I'm having that. I'll have a go at that. And like I had I employed a guy, and it worked the right time. He worked the right guy. But I could just see, this is going to work. It's going to make me loads of money. I'm going to be this. I'm going to be that. But what it did was, it taught me further down the line, when I'm ready for that, it taught me what to look for, make the right decision, don't rush in, and I became more of a social worker to him than I did a boss, and it just didn't work.
Yeah, it's about having the right things in the right place.
Yeah.
Cool. Thanks for that. Right, are we ready to get started on these questions?
Yeah, let's fire away.
Okay, so again, what I'm gonna say is that, guys, I'm gonna open the floor to other questions. If you've got questions that you want to ask Steve during this limited time we have with him this morning, then please do type in your questions, and we will put them to him at the end. What we typically do here at these spotlight meetings is, if I can put this up on screen, let me just show you guys. We have a list of, there we go. We have a list of something like 20 questions there. Turn your eyes, Steve, you're not supposed to be looking. And we will ask Steve at random to pick a number, and then we'll ask him that question to go into some detail on that. Now, I think given the time that we've got, probably between 4 and 6 questions, there or thereabouts. When we get to the end of those, then I'll come back over here and see if any of you guys have questions for Steve as well, or you want clarity on anything. Guys, these questions are meant to be a little bit lighthearted and just to get to know Steve a little bit better. That's the whole object of it. They're not here to trip anybody up. Terry Lyons, good morning to you. Nice to see you there, sir. Carl Brooks, yes, your details are now coming up on screen. And Gary Pratton, thank you. He has put a link to the Kajabi mobile app if people want to download and make use of that. And David Nemeth, good morning to you. Nice to see you there. Right, so let's have a go then. Pick a number between 1 and 20, sir.
Let's go for number 1.
Number 1. Now, again, you have to bear in mind that these are written for electricians, so apologies.
I mean, you don't change the questions because I was coming on.
You can replace S.P.A.R.K.S for heating engineer, yeah, or if you want plumber, But
yeah,
what's the hardest thing that you've ever had to do as a heating engineer?
The hardest thing I've ever had to do, what, in terms of the job?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh God, what a question! The hardest thing I've ever had to do.
Not necessarily physically do, but it may have been in terms of dealing with a customer or.
Yeah, well, we had in that period of time when I was working with my mate and we was doing the bathrooms, we had our only ever non-paying customer, and What had happened was we did a bathroom. She had no intention of paying from day one. But yeah, he'd been. He's not. You normally get that gist, don't you? He's not so good with people. I'm better with people, you know. So he just loses his rag. He'll lose his, you know. And I went to. We'd done the bathroom. They'd snagged it. We'd said, look, we'll come back. And do all your snags. I mean, we're talking stupid little things, you know. And she'd stopped full payment of the bathroom, so we're talking thousands here. And this woman had got a son to be there. So I'm saying, I'm stood in the bathroom. We've got the lad at one side of me and my mate at the other, and I'm in the middle. And the lads, and it said to me before we went in, you do all the talking because I'll lose it. I said, I can't. He said, I'm just so frustrated at this point. So I had this lad that was literally nose to nose with me, telling me how crap I was, and he was going to fill me in, and he was going to this, and he was going to that. That was the hardest moment probably for me as a heating engineer to deal with. But I dealt with it. He shook my hand on my way out of the house, and we moved on. We never got paid off that job, by the way, but it was how the situation went from up here to down here in just through words.
Yeah.
You know, and it didn't need to come to violence, and it quite easily could have done it. If he was on his own, there would have been some violence there, but he didn't need it.
Yeah, and unfortunately, a lot of people would head that direction, wouldn't they? Because they don't have
Yeah.
the skill set to talk things down.
Yeah, and all it took was, and I mean, I think that's because of my son, because my son's autistic, and like how it works with him is that their level, and I mean, I was taught this by a professional, but if he's at this level and you go to that level, he then wants to be at that level.
Yes.
So if he's at that level and you go to that level, he naturally wants to match you. Do you see what I'm saying? So you calm the situation by not raising your voice but lowering your tone. So it works really well. But I mean, we had smashed bedrooms, smashed windows, ornament, you know, and we've had it all over years. But until we learned to handle him in a certain way, and I mean, we can just, if he's in that moment, we're better off just shutting his door and letting him have his moment, you know, and then readdressing it later. So I'd say that I've drifted off there, but that was
it's not really drifting off, is it? Because what you've actually done is you've managed to take a life skill that you've learned from a domestic situation and use that in a work situation that has allowed you to manage people a little bit better and understand how to diffuse a situation. So yeah, pretty good. Question number 2, sir.
We'll go for question number 3.
Number 3. What's your favorite tool and why?
100% my Wearer kit. So my Wearer, it's Wearer screwdriver set, but it's got sockets in there, and it's a little electrical screwdriver tester. I thought I'd just chuck that in there because you're all electrician. But I mean, that for boiler servicing it's just got everything you need in there to strip any component within a boiler. So it's my number one, hands down, favourite tool. And over Christmas, I lost it. So I went back after the new year with no Wearer set, and I'm like pulling my hair out. But where is this Wearer set? And I couldn't find it anywhere. Anyway, I've bought like a summer house for a new office in Garden, and I'd been to go dismantle it, and I took that set with me in the back of my car. So it was in the boot of the car eventually, but it took me about 4 or 5 days because I could not remember leaving that in the boot of the, you know, like it's just somewhere you won't look for tools, isn't it? You know. Yeah. Sorry.
It's a little bit like a Swiss Army knife for a heating engineer, then, yeah.
100%, mate. Yeah, I couldn't live without it. It's one of them that if I lost it, I'd just have to replace it immediately. I need it, you know. It's a necessity. And my favourite as well. They're really nice tool to use.
Right. I'm not sure what Paul Higgins is referring to when he says that, but I don't know whether he's saying we should have stopped by now or things have frozen or whatever. But Paul is saying, is this still going? Yes, Paul, it is still going.
Yeah, it is, Paul. Yeah,
it is still going. Simon Lynton says, not so much of a question, but more of a pat on the back for sticking at it. You're quite inspirational. So
thank you very much, Simon.
Thank you, Simon. Guys, don't forget, if you do have any questions for Steve, do just pop them in below. I'll happily ask them towards the end of this. We'll probably do another 2, maybe 3 questions, see how we go, and Paul can tell us if he's having trouble or if he's had enough.
Probably enough. I know Paul, and I sort of keep in touch with him because he does breakdowns as well. So he's probably sick of hearing my voice, mate.
He said he thought he'd missed it. Well, good morning, Paul. Nice for you to join us. He said, "Welcome, Steven Thompson. You are a legend. Thanks for your help." There you go. There you go. Right, excellent. Well done. Thanks for joining us, Paul. Right, next question, sir.
Number 5.
Number 4. You're keeping right up the top end, aren't you? Number 5. What hobbies do you have, and what is it about them that interests you?
If you'd have asked me this question a year ago,
this is why I'm good. This is why I'm laughing.
There wouldn't have been an answer to that question. I didn't really have something for me, and it was one of them things that was brought up in a mastermind rejig we had, and it was sort of a series of questions of what different areas of your life that need work on or you're good at, and you score yourself at. And this became very apparent that I didn't really have anything for me. It was all about business or family, nothing for me personally. And I've always wanted a motorbike. So I've always, since been a teenager, I've always wanted this big motorbike, and never had the. I mean, my wife, for one, always said it's dangerous, which is always obviously it's one of them, isn't it? She's yeah. I can't argue the fact that they are dangerous. You know, it's a worry. I've got kids at home, but it was something that I was passionate about and I wanted to do. So I booked on. I got my license, and I now have a big shiny red VFR 800 motorbike. That is nice. So it's all. I've done it. I've achieved it. But again, that's setting goals and setting targets and hitting them. And so that hobby, I love. In terms of my wife, I've got an app on my phone that tracks me, so she can see while I'm moving. So whenever I go out on the bike, she tracks me on the app, so she knows that although I can't answer the phone, and I, you know, and that's what it was all about. I'm free. I'm aware. There's no phone. There's no headspace. But my phone's in my bag. She can track where I am, what I'm doing, and you know, if I'm in the field for 20 minutes, she knows there's a problem and she can get me help. So that was a massive relief to her, you know. So yeah, that's what worked.
Yeah, I mean, you can't blame her for being security conscious, but I think, and I remember, and that's why I was sort of laughing as you asked that question, because I remember that mastermind meeting, and I remember that realization that you had at that time, where you'd realize that everything I'm doing is for others, and there was nothing that you were doing for you. And knowing that you had, if you like, the ability and the capability of having that for yourself before you had the realization, how much of an impact has that now changed the way you look at business, at life, at family, now having that little bit of space for you? Massively,
because it gives you the chance to the time to as well, because you know, you sort of, I always think busy fool, you know, but you just rush, go, this is that and that, and just giving you that space makes you have the concentration with when you do get that time, you know. So family time is family time, and I've got a bit of an outlook now on life that it's all about creating these magical moments, and what is life all about? You know, it's got to be, you do everything you do to create moments, don't you? So you know, you're working to go on holiday and create that moment. And over Christmas we went to a place that was like, it had like loads of lights in, and a Father Christmas and an ice rink, and you walk around, it's like a big massive estate, and there's lights everywhere, and a big pond with a light show in, we all went, me, my wife and my 3 kids, which is difficult to do because they all like different things. It's hard to get us all together. Stevie struggles with stuff like that anyway, so it's hard. And over Christmas we went we went to that light thing, and we're all walking around, and we had such a laugh, and we was all in that. Sorry, can you hear me?
Yeah, yeah.
My phone rang. That was all. I had to put my phone on. Yeah, so we're all walking around this thing, and we got to this tunnel at the end, and it was like a big, massive tunnel. I'd say like, I don't know, 7 meters wide by 25 meters long. So you can imagine like in a big hut sort of thing. From the ceiling with these lights all dangling down everywhere around you. So you're like wading through it, and I'm wading through these lights, and I'm starting to get emotional. I'm like thinking, God, this is a moment. It's like magical, you know. And I'll turn around, and my 17-year-old daughter was crying. She was like, Dad, it's like the end of a film. And I'm like, wow, you know. And if we aren't doing what we're doing for them magical moments, what are we doing it for? You know. So for me, life is all about creating them magical moments. And without the time for you, you can't create them.
Yeah. No, excellent. Well done. I think that's a lesson for everybody, to be honest. I've seen a question come in from Simon. We'll look at that towards the end. So let's have another one from you, sir.
We'll go for 13.
Number 13. There you go. If you were starting all over again, business-wise, what would you do differently?
Nothing. Absolutely nothing. And you know why? Because I wouldn't have learned the lessons that I've learned if I didn't do it the way that I did it.
Very good.
That I got in trouble last year with a VAT bill, and I'm honest. I'm always openly honest, but I got in trouble last year, as you know. And at that moment, I remember you looking at me, James, and I'd changed as my whole persona had changed, and I was scared, I was worried, I was in a bit of a state. And James turned around to me in that moment and said, "Don't take this the wrong way, Steve, but I'm glad that this has happened, because in a year, 5 years, 10 years time, when you're making serious money and it becomes a serious problem, you don't want to learn that lesson then." And that really stuck with me. And I thought, all these times that you struggle and you think that it's a problem, it's not. This is why I don't call them problem. I call them lessons, because they all are valuable lessons, you know, and it's what you take away from them. So in answer to your question, I won't change a thing.
I love the answer, but I mean, and it stands to exactly who you are. You know, and I'm a great believer as well, in the sense that every single step that you take in your life is the step that takes you to the next place. And without that, you know, people look at, and you know, everybody knows about my history and my background, and people say, "Oh, it must have been really horrible when you lost your business, and wouldn't you change this and wouldn't you change that?" And it's like, well, yeah, it was horrible, but if that hadn't happened the way it happened, I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing today. And the beauty about what I'm doing today is that I absolutely love what I do today. You know, I've always enjoyed, regardless of what I did as a job, I've always enjoyed myself. I've always enjoyed working as a S.P.A.R.K.S. I always enjoyed being on the tool. I always enjoyed managing the office, all that kind of stuff. I enjoyed what I did. And again, I think that's just down to my personality. But doing what I do today, and you guys in the toolbox have heard me say this before, time and time again, doing what I'm doing today really lights me up. It's like I have found what I'm supposed to be doing, and it's not a job. I enjoy it so much, and I enjoy seeing you guys all get the results and the changes that you get in your business and so on and so forth. But if I hadn't had all those mistakes in the past, if I hadn't had all those problems in the past, if I hadn't been up my back against a wall near bankruptcy, all of that, then I couldn't be where I am today. I couldn't be doing what I'm doing today. So I fully get and I fully understand what you mean. Yeah.
And we're all on this journey, aren't we? And you've got to, like you say, then I've enjoyed every aspect. I've enjoyed getting the ladder off my dad for Christmas to do a window cleaning business. And if you'd have saw me in that moment, I'd have had a massive smile on my face walking around with this ladder, earning 18 quid for a day because I can only get 3 windows done. But in that moment, I was happy, you know, and as long as you're happy on your journey and you're going up a level every time, then who's to say that it's wrong, you know?
Yeah. And there will be mistakes along the way, and you just got to learn from them. You make everything a learning experience. Yeah. It's feedback. That's the way to look at it. It's feedback, not failure.
Yeah, that's it. Good.
Right, let's go for one more from you, sir, and then we'll take a couple from the guys out there, because a few have come in now, which is great. So we'll go for one more number from you.
We'll go for question number 20.
Question number 20, bottom of the pile. You really made a jump there now. You're going to make me scroll. This should be an interesting one. What's your favorite movie and why do you like it?
Oh, my favorite movie is Catch Me If You Can with Leonardo DiCaprio. I don't know if you've seen that.
Yes.
He's a con man. And the reason why I like that film is because I love the inspiration in it. There's a quote at the beginning of that film that a couple of years ago, I used to wake my son up every morning with a quote. And it's, I won't do the American accent, but it's two little mice in a bucket of cream. The first little mouse drowns. The second little mouse swims in the butter, churns it up, swims in the cream, churns it up to butter, and climbs right out. And that for me is like, just keep working, just keep going, just keep working at it. And that was that quote in the film, and I still say it to him now. But I say it like, two little mice in a bucket of cream, because that's how he says it in film, you know. But it's yeah, that film for me, I could watch that over and over and over again. Just how he pulls wool over people's eyes, and you know, like he goes to school as a kid, and he's in a new school, and all kids are picking on him, so he just goes up to the front of class and says, "Mr. Abagnale," and puts his pencil on board as if he's the teacher. So then the substitute teacher walks in the class and he sends him away. So he teaches the class for 2 weeks. You know, and it's just a real good film. If you haven't seen it, watch it. It's great.
I have seen it. I've so long ago I've seen it. I've pretty much forgotten about it. But yes, yeah. I might revive that and have a look at it. But yeah, interesting choice. Cool. Let's have a look at what the guys are asking. We have Simon is asking, what are you doing to prepare for the 2025 boiler changeover? Are you looking at additional training for heat pumps? So what moves are you making, or what's your views on all of that?
I don't think heat pumps are going to go the way that, I mean, I could do a full 3 hours on this subject, but yeah, I don't think heat pumps are going to go the way that the government are expecting them to go. I think we're going to, the new gas, the hydrogen is going to be the way forward. All the boiler manufacturers are preparing for hydrogen anyway. So I'm not going to go. I was planning on going down the road of heat pumps, but it's a whole different business. It's a whole different level, and I'm geared up for boilers and hydrogen. There's not a lot of difference between the two gases anyway. So I'm preparing for hydrogen being the big thing that takes off. Basically, is what I'm doing.
I'm slightly confused on that, but then again, I'm an electrician. I'm allowed to get confused. But I'm confused on that in terms of, if people are installing boilers now and they're going to be hydrogen ready boilers, is my basic understanding of it. So let's say I have a standard gas boiler here, and my neighbor next door now has a hydrogen ready boiler. At what point or how do you affect a changeover in that situation? Well, if you change that now onto the scale of a town,
yeah.
First of all, everybody would then have to be changed over to hydrogen before they start pumping hydrogen through the pipes.
Yeah, exactly that. And so what they've done is they're doing some tests now that hydrogen, they can do a 20% mix now of natural gas and hydrogen, which will, in effect, it'll work on any condensing boiler now. So a boiler that you've got in your home, as long as it's a condensing boiler, it will work off a 20% mix of natural gas and hydrogen now, no changing. So which will then reduce emissions by 20% immediately. Yeah, you get that? Okay. Because obviously you're mixing it 20% hydrogen, 80% natural gas. You've got zero carbon in hydrogen, so you're knocking that down by 20%. So that's the first phase, is going to be a 20% mix, which all boilers now can work off as long as they're condensing. What boiler manufacturers are doing is making boilers fully hydrogen ready that have got to work on natural gas as well. But what they're saying is that they'll do that, and they'll have a conversion kit that will cost 10% of the boiler's value. So if you buy a boiler for £1,000, and you can convert that boiler to fully hydrogen for £100.
Right.
Do you know what I'm saying? So that when that time comes, we're just going around conversion kit for that boiler, 100 quid, job done. You know, on to the next one, on to the next one, and that's how they're going to do it, apparently. So this is just second-hand information from my rep, but yeah, I've looked into it, and I think that's the way it's going to go, as opposed to it's just not feasible with heat pumps. You've got to increase the pipe size to every radiator, double the size of it, because you think heat pumps can only heat up to 50 degrees, whereas gas boilers can heat up to 80. So all the sizes of the radiators are wrong to heat the rooms. So you're doubling the size of your radiators. You're ripping everybody's. It's just not feasible.
Yeah, there's a lot more work involved in order to make it a
Then what? I mean, government obviously say, "Oh, here's £5,000. Here's a £5,000 voucher for whatever." It's just not. You know, you can't just chuck money at that. You know what I mean? It's not like it's some of them. You need the space for. You need a cylinder and a buffer tank, and you know, like what they're going to do in a terraced street. Like you're not going to fit heat pumps on any of it. You know, just the way it works.
Yeah. Cool.
So in answer to your question, sorry, I know I've gone off on a tangent there, but no, I'm not looking at additional training for heat pumps because I think there'll be enough with the gas boilers anyway. And doing what I want to do in the next 5 years won't warrant it anyway.
Excellent stuff. Tim says inspirational stuff. That's Tim Scullion. Fred Woolley says, told you, nothing wrong with plumbers. I don't know, Tim. We still jury's out. So Paul Higgins, question: are you still putting leaflets out, and what other marketing are you continually doing?
Well, I have a leaflet guy that's just continuously delivering leaflets, but I've put him on hold because my business name has changed, so I need to get some new ones done. That's that. That's answered that question on the leaflets. And
just one second before you move on from that, because surely the toolbox way of doing leaflets doesn't work, does it?
No, definitely not. That's why I stopped. I thought they don't bloody work. I'm not going to bother doing it. No, they certainly do work. But yeah, I mean, that for me, find the right guy with your leaflets as well. Find that bloke. I mean, I've got a guy, in all honesty, he won't be listening to this, but he's just greasy. One of these guys that just sits in his bedroom all the time, smoking whatever he smokes, and just walks around. And he's happy to just walk around delivering leaflets constantly. And he's like the best leaflet deliverer ever. You know, never, always just good fit, never a bad word. So he's brilliant. But find the right guy. Because a lot of people, I've had like kids putting 2, 3 through doors, and that didn't work for me. But find the right people, and it'll work.
Yeah, it's one of the what's the word I'm looking for here? One of the drawbacks of running leafleting yourself is finding the right people to actually do it. But definitely. It is that exercise that is so worth doing because as of yet,
Steve, sorry to interrupt there, but Steve Palmer did a post on getting a leaflet, and that's how I found this guy. But I mean, that I must have got 60, 70 responses from that one post I put out. So getting to if you're looking for somebody doing leaflets, let's put that post out that Steve Palmer's written. I'm sure he won't mind sharing it with you all.
Yeah. But yeah, they're saying it's so worth doing that because for the length of time we've been doing that, number one, there's not one company that we've ever come across yet that delivers the way that we want them delivered, or to get you the results that you want got. But when you get the right individual doing it the way you want it done, then the results quadruple.
As
far as leaflets are concerned. So just there's a question here from sorry, do you want to do the second part of that first, and then we'll go to David?
What are the marketing continually? Well, the digital leaflet that I spoke about earlier on that I first did with James is still running to this day, and I had it running at £1 a day, and then added a video to it, and that is still continuously just going. It cost me 0.00008 pence per showing now. It's been seen that many times, but if you were to, my belief is that if you add video to these paid adverts, they get shown to a lot more people for a lot less money because they want to promote the video. So it's worth attaching an MP4 file or a video or something just to get the extra value out of your ad is a piece of information. But yeah, that I'm doing the digital leaflet that's running, and also an online booking boiler service. But I don't know if I like that one. It's a bit cheesy. I don't know if any of you, well, you won't have seen it, but yeah, them two ads I'm running at the minute, as well as that, as well as I run an advert in a magazine, and all the usual stuff, GMB, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram.
Doing them all the way that you were taught in the toolbox, correct?
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, because I'm saying that because we're going to come to a question from David Duran in a minute about leaflets, which again, it's about he's done 250 leaflets. We'll come to that in a second. I'll work down through the others, but David, pay attention, because we're gonna give you some eye-opening information in a minute, and perhaps the very reason why you need to be a member of the toolbox, because there is a way of doing things and there's a way of doing things. So David says, David Canough says, with the leaflets, how do you find that we can't take leaflets due to COVID?
We can't take leaflets due to COVID? Never heard of it in my life.
Never heard of it. There was a period of time during the first lockdown, the initial lockdown, where a lot of activities were ceased because of COVID and so on and so forth. When they realized that it was airborne rather than surface-borne, because originally they were saying that it stayed on cardboard for months, and so on and so forth, and then they proved it was airborne rather than passed in that manner. That ruling, if you like, all changed. But I haven't heard anybody, and I'd be interested to know where that's coming from. But yeah, David, there is a digital leaflet, but there's also a paper leaflet as well. And the guys within the toolbox do a lot of leafleting, and I haven't heard anybody say can't do or can't take a leaflet due to COVID. In fact, one of the programs that we ran with the toolbox back in the early stages of the pandemic was a leaflet campaign from your local electrician offering to help you out during the COVID period. If you were isolating or locking down, for your local electrician to go out and pick up some bits and pieces from the shop or the chemist or whatever for you. And that was a leaflet campaign, which interestingly enough, we did that off the back of a government campaign, which was a leaflet campaign. So I'd be interested to know where that's coming from, or if that is just a personal sense or a personal feeling. Maybe one or two people said it to you, David, that they wouldn't take leaflets because of COVID, but it's not and has not been a major thing as far as 320 something odd toolbox members have been concerned. So be interested to know more about that, if you've had that as an issue, if you personally had it as an issue, or if it's just a query that you think. Right, let's have a look at David's one here. David says he handed out 250 leaflets and didn't get a call since. Wondering if my website let me down. How long do you expect a reply? David, I will tell you now. We'll answer that backwards. How long would I expect to get a reply? Same day in most cases. There is a strategy and a method of doing leaflets. Now, if you've not seen any of my web information, I know you're not currently a toolbox member, but go and have a look on my YouTube channel to get some more information if you want, or just come in and join the toolbox and you'll get all the information. But let me give you a brief idea, just a very, very brief overview. Most people, and this may have been your situation, David, most people get a feeling that maybe I'm going to do some leaflets. So what they'll do then is they'll spend a few quid on having a leaflet designed. Either they'll design it themselves, or they'll spend a few quid on getting somebody to design it. So they spend money to get it designed. Then they'll spend a few quid on having it printed. And of course, the printer will jump in and say, well, what you want is you want this glossy, double-sided, blah, 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 blah thing, right? And then you're paying more for the leaflet. And then you only order 200 or 500 of them, and you deliver them, and you get bugger all or very little result out of it. So you've paid out to have it designed, you've paid out to have them printed, probably more than you need to pay, and you've just delivered them, and you've gotten absolutely nothing from them. And that's typically the strategy that most people go for. What needs to happen in advance, first and foremost? Number one, understand who your ideal customer is, because putting 250 leaflets out in an area that is literally just a blanket area is not going to get you any kind of a response, because you cannot, it's not like advertising Coca-Cola or McDonald's. You cannot make people buy from you unless they are ready to buy from you, unless they need to buy from you. So leaflets are seen, in the way we do it, it's seen as direct response marketing for small jobs, number one, but it's then seen as awareness marketing for jobs down the road. So what you're trying to do is get your name in front of people so that when they need a S.P.A.R.K.S, then they call you. That means that your leaflet has to be designed in such a way that they're going to hang on to it. First of all, that they're going to see it. Secondly, it's going to resonate with them. And thirdly, they're actually going to keep it for when they actually need it. And unfortunately, what tends to happen is most leaflets, they spend out on glossy leaflets that don't mean anything to the customer. They don't resonate with the customer. That's what target marketing is about. The leaflet doesn't resonate with the customer at all. So what happens? They pick them up and they put them straight into recycling, because at that time in their life, they don't need an electrician. And there's nothing there to convince them to hang on to that leaflet to say, oh, I might need that later, right? That's typically how it happens. Toolbox way is slightly different. You spend bugger all on having it designed, because it doesn't have to be designed. It doesn't have to be flashy. It doesn't have to have photographs. It doesn't have to have logos. It just needs to resonate with the customer. In other words, it's got to get their attention and they've got to want to hang on to it. Those are the key elements behind having a proper leaflet campaign. Then it's got to go to the right places. So that's about identifying the areas in where you want to distribute it. And then it's a numbers game. 250 are not going to get you anywhere. You need to be talking in terms of thousands. Now, I'm not going to start teaching the whole process here, but we run what we call a leaflet domination campaign. It's one of the things that we teach very early on in the toolbox. And your leaflet domination campaign means that you will get recognized, your leaflet will get recognized within a geographical area that you define, in such a way that once the leaflets start going out, you'll get a response straight away. But after the fact, you will get a response ongoing from those leaflets. Now, I came off the tools for almost 5 years ago now. I came off the tools almost 5 years ago. A year before I came off the tools, I stopped delivering the leaflets based on the campaign that we're talking about here, the leaflet domination campaign. Today, I still get calls from those leaflets. So we're now talking about almost 6 years. I still get calls from those leaflets. Now, granted, they've petered out. There's, where it used to be several in a week, now it might be 1 or 2 in a month. And I still get those calls. Now, we have a toolbox member who lives just up the road from me. He's operating and working the area that I used to operate and work. So now when I get those calls in, I pass them directly to him. I don't know if he's on the call this morning. George Papp is his name. The members will know who I'm talking about. But these leaflets, when you run the campaigns properly, David, when they're done properly, they work gangbusters. And I think this is why we joke about it. We say toolbox leaflets don't work. They work so freaking well when it's done the way that we teach people to do it. The problem is people go out and they do leaflet campaigns without any kind of consideration to who the ideal customer is, how to structure the leaflet, how to target the customer, and how to actually execute it, how to deliver. So I think I've said a lot without saying a lot, but what I don't want to do is train and teach on how to do that, because it's something that we do inside of the toolbox. George has just replied. He just said, "I'm here and I get calls from a leaflet I stopped running 3 years ago." So that's George Papp. Excellent stuff, George. Thank you. And David, hopefully that answers your question. It's a numbers game. In other words, you need to be doing thousands of leaflets, not 250. But it's also about the way they're delivered, how they're designed, and how they're structured. And it's not about paying for glossy. It's about using a specific method that we use. But it works really, really well, mate.
Can I just jump in there as well, just to add? Your website, mate, is worth paying somebody to constantly update your website all the time, your SEO on it, and just keep it there. I've asked Gary Pratton for the numbers for my website, because it just continuously is on the up, because I'm constantly updating it, constantly adding blogs and different stuff to it. So if you aren't doing that already, then that might be the reason why your website is letting you down. But yeah, be worth. Is he not in the toolbox, David? James?
I don't think David is, but David, if you're not, you should consider being a toolbox member. So yeah, and anybody who's out there, look, anybody who's out there at the moment, there's 21 people out there at the moment. Anybody who's out there at the moment that's not currently a Toolbox member, we've got mainly Toolbox members in here. But if you're not currently a Toolbox member, jump in, get involved, guys. This is the beginning of a new year. You have an opportunity now to start doing all the things that you thought you were going to do in previous years, to learn and understand how to market the business, get a steady stream of regular local customers coming in, and how to manage all of that process. And like I said, at the end of the first month, if you think it's not for you, just ask for your money back. It's 100% guarantee. You will not find anybody who's going to turn around and say, James the One ran away with my money, or James the One is full of shit, or anything like that. There's no magic cure. There's no magic bullet. You have to work at the strategies that I teach, but the strategies that I teach work. It is as simple as that. Excellent. So yeah, David Knuff said just a couple of customers said it. That's all. Okay, so this is about the COVID leaflet. Excellent stuff. Oh, and David Jones said he's going to join later on today. Excellent. We'll be glad to have you on board, my friend. And Gary Delve says, hope the work carries on. Carries on pouring in. Right. Okay, coming in the second one. It does when you work at it. It is about creating that funnel, and that funnel is created through various different strategies that we teach in terms of marketing and everything. But excellent stuff. Right, I'm not seeing any other questions coming in. Let's have a look and see. Oh, hang on a second. We've got David again. Is that even if you did the website yourself or get someone in to oversee it? Right, people have different opinions on websites, David. Here's my take on it. And again, I don't want to start going into a whole pile of education here, but here's my take on it. There are firms out there that will charge you thousands of pounds to build a website. And to that, I call crap. Yeah, I call bullshit, because it doesn't take that. You as a local tradesman, you don't need a website with all bells, whistles, and everything, singing and dancing, all of that. People do it out of a sense of ego and image and so on and so forth. What you want from a website is a website that attracts the attention of the customers that you want to work with in your local area, right? And it gets a response. Every piece of marketing, whether we're talking about a website, a leaflet, a magazine ad, a video, but every piece of marketing should be designed to get an action from the customer. So all this bullshit about, oh, it gets your name out there and it looks wonderful and it's great branding, crap. The object of any piece of marketing is to get your phone ringing so that you get work from it. Okay. Now, if you're building a website yourself, are you proficient enough to, number one, make it look reasonable enough for the customer, and number two, have it optimized? That normally involves SEO to make that work for you. If you are, great, go ahead and do it yourself, right? If you're proficient at doing that, right? Don't pay thousands of pounds, because you don't need to pay thousands of pounds. Don't pay other organizations like I'm trying to think of something that it rhymes with so I don't get sued, but Mellow Mages or something like that. There's one of those. Don't go paying people like that to build websites for you, because they can't. They promise you the sun, moon, and stars, and they can't promise that to everybody, but somehow they do. If you want to be independently ranking locally in your area, then find somebody who understands how to rank an independent local website. Now, within the Toolbox, as a Toolbox member, you have access to a chap that we have who helps you to do that. And he has a small fee for what he does, but it's a reasonable, proper fee, not one of these thousands of pounds to build a website for you and then hundreds and hundreds of pounds to keep it SEO'd for you. And I'm not necessarily saying that you need to deal with him, but find somebody who deals specifically with the type of work that you're looking to get, that can help you to optimize in your local area and in your local community. And there are so many people out there selling web services that are using templated sites, and they don't really understand SEO. They don't understand it. They say they do, but they don't understand it, and they're selling those as a service. And you see so many disgruntled people saying, you know, oh, I'm paying a fortune, I'm paying £500 a month, and I don't know what I'm getting for it. I haven't got a clue. I'm getting X amount of unique visitors. That's great. So you could have 1,000 unique visitors, but how many calls are actually coming through? How many calls are actually coming into the business? So that's my take on websites, David. So as I said, lots more information inside the toolbox. Dan Morris, good morning to you, sir. Coming to the party late, sir. We are just about to wrap things up. But for anybody who's come along late and is watching this on replay, please do #replay so that we can see who is coming along. And it's an open invitation, guys. www.jdewan.com/toolbox. I think Gary might type that in for us there, or George, or somebody might type it in. jdewan.com/toolbox if you want to take a look at what we do inside of the toolbox and get involved. Steve, over to you for any final words you may have for people.
If anyone's watching on replay and wants any questions from me answering, just get in touch. I'll try and help you the best I can, as I try helping anyone. It's what I'm about. Final words from me. James, you said something to me very early on when creating videos, and it stuck with me, and I live by it, and it's get over yourself. This was game changing for me. You know, like, just get over yourself, and it's a good piece of information, because if you're thinking about doing something, just stop thinking of it, do it. You know, just get over yourself. You did it in the context of video, but I use it for everything. You know, like, it don't matter. And the branding that you was on about as well. Like, I had a big ego thing about brand Aircon Plumbing and Heating. I created that. I should have that all over my van, and I should have it on my leaflets, and I should have it here and should have it there. That's not what a customer remembers. Fortunately, they want a heating engineer in my case. So my leaflet is heating engineer. You know, I think my logo's somewhere at the bottom about this big, but I mean, that is game changing. So yeah, just get over yourself is my final words of wisdom.
Yeah, I mean, and you are right. It stands you in good stead in any part of your business, because 9 times out of 10 we stand in our own way. You know, we are the objection, we are the problem in the business. You know, if we just got ourselves out of the way, so that stands you everywhere. But in terms of the branding stuff as well, I mean, that is such a noteworthy piece of information to leave this call on, is the fact that your customers really, and here comes the swear words, your customers really don't give a fuck about your logo or how colorful it is, or whether it's 3D, or whether it spells out something fucking clever or funny. They really don't care. What they care about is, have you got the solution to what they want? Like you said, heating engineer, electrician, plumber, gardener. That's what they're looking for. So when you look to direct market to people, when you look to directly advertise to people, you need to be advertising and promoting what it is you do, not who it is you are, because they don't care who you are. They want what you do. I think that's a really good one to leave it on. So, Steven Thompson, thank you very much. That's been a fantastic, and we've gone, and I don't mind saying this, we've gone way over on time, but it hasn't felt like it at all. So thank you very much for your time this morning. And toolboxers, we all know how to do this. A round of applause for Steve. And those of you who are not toolboxers, let me explain. Hit the heart and the thumbs up button and the smiley face button, and just keep hitting it like I'm about to do now. Just keep hitting those as we give Stephen a round of applause. And I'm going to take my leave of you all and say thank you, every one of you, for being with us this morning as we did our spotlight on Steven Thompson. Steve, take it easy. Enjoy the remainder of your weekend. Have a fantastic time. I will catch up with you again. I think we've got Mastermind on Tuesday, haven't we? So I will catch up with you then. Everybody else, thank you for your time and your attention. If you're watching this on replay, please do #replay. If you have any questions, either for myself or Steve, just #our name, @our name, tag us in on the post, and we'll jump in and happily answer any questions that you have. Take it easy, guys and girls. Thank you very much for your time and attention. Oh, by the way, I've just noticed there's a post from Leela there. She says, do you fancy doing a heating job in London in February?
She's already badgered me about this. I'm trying to get somebody to go and quote it, but yeah.
I think what she said was she'd be prepared to put you up in a hotel and everything.
Yeah.
I'll catch up with you later, mate. Take it easy. Cheers, guys.